Well, with more on the Trump victory and Canada's response to it, we're joined by the Industry Minister, Francois-Philippe Champagne. Minister, thank you for joining us.
It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Now, listen, during the course of this campaign, we heard from Mr. Trump. He is promising to impose tariffs of 10%, 20% on all imports going into the United States. And as you know, Canada, more than 70% of our exports actually go to the U.S. Do Canadians have to brace themselves for some tough economic times?
Well, first of all, let's take it step by step. You know, we're day one. This morning, we congratulated President Trump on his victory. We're going to see which kind of policy his teams want to put forward. We've already been in contact with a number of the people, the Republicans and people in his entourage. The good thing I would say is that we are very prepared. You know, you recall and you mentioned this Team Canada effort where we talk to business leaders, political leaders, both Republican and Democrats for months now. So we are well connected, I would say, and we're making the case for Canada. You know, one of the difference in 2024 than the last Trump presidency is that our supply chain are more integrated. And that's one thing that we obviously always mention in our discussion. You know, the three things that always interest our American friends, the first one is security. I think they see the world in a very much a security lens in terms of the North, the Arctic, and today national security is economic security. So that's kind of the first one, and say we are your best partner when it comes to security for North America. The second thing is supply chain resiliency. Coming out of COVID, I think that what you hear is that people have understood now, and my job and our job has been to connect the dots, is that, for example, think about critical minerals. Most of the critical minerals needed for the prosperity and the resilience of the United States are going to be coming from Canada. You're talking about semiconductors in terms of packaging and testing. You're talking about energy. So in terms of the supply chain, we are far more integrated. So in a sense that a decision on one side of the border would have an impact on both. And lastly, I would say what we've been talking with our American friends is a growth agenda for North America. Understanding that there's a lot of turbulence in the world, there's a lot of challenges, but we want them to see us from just being kind of the good neighbor to the strategic partner. In Washington, they often refer to us as the indispensable relationship for the prosperity and growth in North America. And that's really what we're putting forward with our American friends.
And I certainly understand that's the Canadian argument. It's security, supply chains, prosperity, except that when you look at this president, we know that he does not like the Prime Minister. He has called Justin Trudeau in the past dishonest, weak, two-faced. How will that relationship have an effect on the bilateral relationship between our two countries?
Well, they know each other, and that's a good thing. You know, I've been doing that for 10 years. I was foreign minister during part of President Trump's previous administration. The good thing that Canadians should feel reassured, that is a team that has the experience and expertise in the sense that we have dealt with a Trump administration. We know the people that were there then, and some likely to be with him on this term. We have had to deal with these issues that you mentioned. So in a sense, there's no one better place, I would say, than the team in place to deal with that, because we've been there before. And now, in addition to that, we've been preparing for that. So we're well prepared in front of any scenarios that could be presented. We stood up for Canadian workers, industry, and we're going to do the same exactly now. One thing that they know is that we stand up for Canada. That is something that the Trump administration know. They've seen it before, and will be prepared to do it again. But the spirit in which we're talking now is strategic partner in security, making sure that and talking about a growth agenda, because you know what, that's what our Republican friend want to hear. When I'm with them, they say, we like you, you talk business. And in a world like that, Canada becomes an essential partner to the United States. That's what we're going to be putting forward, and it also gives us leverage in any negotiation that our colleagues, governors, senators, business leaders understand that the interaction, that the decision on one side of the border would have an impact on both.
Except that, you know, Mr. Trump operates very independently of other Republicans, how other diplomats might view Canada and international relations. And if he does not like Justin Trudeau, as he has stated in the past, will there be efforts on the behalf of your government to try to repair that relationship?
Well, I would say we've been engaging for them. I mean, the Team Canada initiative put forward by the Prime Minister was part of that, in the sense that to make sure that we would have relationship on both sides. I mean, we've been trading with the United States for for far more than a century. So we've been working with both Democrat and Republican administration. We have the playbook. We know how to engage. And that's why, you know, I am confident that the work that we've done is going to pay off now, because we have the relationship. We have a leverage point when it comes to supply chain, and we are also a key partner when it comes to the security of North America. And I would say, in the world which has changed significantly since the last Trump administration, you know, in a world which is fraught with turbulence on all sorts of fronts, I think it's reassuring for American friends to know that they can always count on Canada, and that we are a trusted partner, and that we're going to be working together to advance a North American growth agenda.
And I appreciate you have very little time here, but I do want to ask one more question of you, though, Mr. Champagne, because Mr. Trump says that he will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. You mentioned critical minerals, and he not only says he'll end the mandate, he's also promising to rescind many of the incentives for EV production from the Biden Inflation Reduction Act. Your government has committed billions in EV battery manufacturing. Do you now need to revisit that industrial strategy, since Trump is signaling a change in what the U.S. is willing to do?
Well, the good thing is that we had a record level of investments in the country. That's a good thing. And, you know, we were smart, because we're talking about production credit, production support, which assumed that you have to build the asset before. So I would say the way Canada did it was smart, was strategic, was very focused. You know, like I said, this is day one after the election. Let's see what is going to be put forward by the next U.S. administration. And like I said, we're always going to be making sure that we remain competitive, that we attract investments like we've done, and continue to seize generational opportunities. And I can tell you, I've already exchanged with some business folks in the United States this morning, and you know, they understand the need for that very indispensable relationship, as we call it in Washington, and they are grateful that we have these relationships now well established, to make sure that we support the Canadian agenda, but at the same time that we make sure that everyone understands in the United States that we are their best partner to ensure the growth and resiliency in North America.
Minister Champagne, thank you for the time. Always appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.